Hi everybody! In my last video I shared some observations on how some people are great product managers but don't have the title, and others have the title but are not necessarily a fit for the role that they're in. And I'm going through hiring processes myself at the moment, and get asked how I hire product managers and what exactly I look for. And it occurred to me that I mostly actually look for the right mindset inside product managers, as opposed to their previous responsibilities and roles and background and all this stuff. And I was fortunate enough that I worked in an organization that actually hired product managers straight from university. So they take graduates and they put them straight into a product management role. And so basically the tools of product managers I find are actually all very, very easy to learn. So if I interview someone and they haven't done a roadmap or they haven't worked with analytics, that's not really a concern to me, because all that stuff is, let's face it, not really rocket science. But the mindset, that's what's really hard to change if someone doesn't have that. And so I wanted to share some thoughts on how the title and the role and mindset are all sort of separate things. Now, the title, of course, is easy, right? Either someone's employment contract says they're a product manager, or maybe a product owner, or there's something else. The role is actually quite complex, and if we look at job descriptions, we can see that often there's a long list of responsibilities, from defining the vision and roadmaps, to gathering requirements and prioritizing them, to talking to customers and then creating business cases, or maybe gathering data and creating insights from it. And so my problem with that is, sure, product managers might do any of these things, all of those things, but they're tasks, they're not outcomes. And the mindset is a lot more focused on the outcomes. Now, roadmaps are great, but the outcome you want is alignment and clarity across the team and the stakeholders and the organization. Right? A roadmap in itself is just a task, but it might not be successful. Gathering requirements is great, but also not much use if the product is not loved by customers. And shipping features is not much use if we don't actually grow the business, or at least some of the key metrics. So tasks, they change, right? Depending on where the product is, the size of the organization, the org structure, the expertise of the product manager. They might do any of those things, they might do none of those things, and they can still be great product managers, actually adding a lot of value in the organization. And so, for example, if a product manager doesn't have a product marketing manager to work with, they might focus a lot more on the go-to-market strategy, but maybe they've got a really strong technical team that's almost running by themselves. In a large organization, a product manager has a lot more stakeholders to manage, and probably a lot more people to update on the progress and the direction of the product. And in a small organization, the product manager might have to fill a lot of the gaps that don't exist in the team yet. For example, actually running the Scrum process and maybe doing QA. The mindset, as opposed to the role and responsibilities, that's what I think doesn't change depending on the organization and change and product, etc. And so what I look for is really, in the mindset, of focus on creating the right outcomes. Now, there's 3 pillars in my mind to that. The first thing is, product management is not really about building products. It's actually about creating change. So there's a little bit of a mantra I use when I think about great products, and that's that customers, they don't buy products or services. What they really buy is getting a job done better, faster, or cheaper, right? And if the product can enable that, that's great. If we ship something that doesn't do that, then we've wasted a whole bunch of time and resources, right? Now, the CEO and the shareholders of an organization, they don't care so much for what gets shipped. What they really care about is growth, right? Products are just a great way of actually achieving that goal. And so this is a little bit of a habit, right? The starting with the end in mind habit, and thinking about problems before we weigh off solutions. It's all about, we want to create change and not do something, right? So the outcomes as opposed to the tasks. Now the next thing is that product managers are actually multipliers. They don't really do the design or the coding themselves, and they certainly don't work and achieve growth and outcomes in isolation. So the best way a product manager can look at their role is looking at the team and making sure that they do the right things. And the trick as product manager is really that working with design and engineering and marketing and sales means we work with people who think and act fundamentally differently. And the magic only happens if all of them are aligned, if everyone pulls in the same direction. And so as product managers, we need to complement the team in whichever way we can, and whichever way makes more sense and helps us ship value faster, if you like. So what I see a lot is that startup founders, they tend to, when they hire their first product managers, want someone visionary, because they're visionary themselves and they think about handing the product over to someone else, and they want that person to be sort of a mini founder. And the problem is startups generally attract a lot of creative people, and everyone has ideas and thinks about the future and is visionary to some extent, especially in the early stages. So what happens if you hire a visionary product manager and you expect them to be creative and to have these killer ideas is that actually you achieve much more of a standstill in the team, because there's a lot of time spent arguing and discussing ideas and trying to be aligned on the same direction, and suddenly there's a new idea and you have to go through the cycle again. So you might be able to hire a product manager who is visionary, but hopefully the product manager realizes that it's much more important in that kind of scenario to bring a bit of structure and process into the place. And so if we interview product managers and ask them what they've done in their last role, and they've been a little bit more process focused, maybe they're still visionary, they just realized that there's more value to be added here by bringing structure and process into the organization. Now, the last habit and sort of the last pillar of the mindset, I think, is speed. And so the lean startup teaches us that the faster we can learn, the faster we can grow. And that's really important in business when we think about shipping value to customers. The faster we can do that, the better for our own organization, but also it means we can move faster than the competition. And so this mantra of speed is really important for personal growth as product manager, then the product itself, and ultimately the organization. And so everything is, to a product manager, a little bit of an experiment, right? We know that every solution is just really a hypothesis. And so creating MVPs is really important, and making sure that we at least try and learn as fast as we can. And MVPs to great product managers are so much more than just the first version of the product that gets shipped to customers. And there's so many ways in which we can learn through landing pages, through essentially fake doors in the product, and so forth. So putting this all together, the way I think about the mindset is really shipping value at the highest rate possible, and asking yourself that question pretty much every day: how can I, with the team and the framework in which I'm operating, how can I ship as much value as I can at the highest rate possible? And so then the question, of course, is, well, where do we find this mindset? And in my experience, I've had really good product managers who've had a background as a startup founder or CEO, because they, of course, had a very immediate effect of all their decisions on their own fortune and salary and the fortune of their company. And they tend to think very holistically about the business and the product as just one of the ways in which they can achieve their business goals. And so the other group of people that I've had really good success with is people who've changed jobs and roles quite a bit throughout their career. And that's because they are usually aware of the different dynamics of the departments inside an organization. And of course, they had to create outcomes in many, many different environments, so they tend to be very adaptable. Now, that's how I look at the mindset of product management and how I sort of hire product managers. I'm keen to hear what your best practices are. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching.